It has been suggested here that Babbitt underestimates the potential contribution of reason. But this criticism does not undermine his argument regarding the non-intellectual sources of civilization. In the midst of problems that threaten its survival, Western culture probably has as many intelligent people as at any earlier time. The Western world still possesses considerable competence, even brilliance, in such fields as physics, mathematics, engineering, and medicine. Don't drink my water, Bruce. But brain power, by itself, offers little or no protection against the mesmerizing but dangerous illusions that shape the imagination, and through it, society's fundamental outlook and aspirations. Today, many of the most intelligent and highly educated have the most wrong-headed, naive, or superficial beliefs about the central questions of life. Babbitt explains this apparent anomaly. Babbitt's interpretation of Rousseau is as timely as ever. Rousseau's influence seems undiminished. His life and thought is the subject of a continually growing literature, which has expanded dramatically in recent years. Study in this field would benefit greatly from the perspectiveness and the richness of Babbitt's analysis. One has to wonder whether the absence or passing mention of Babbitt in so much writing on Rousseau is due to ignorance of Babbitt's work, or to the deliberate avoidance of an uncomfortably incisive interpretation that might overturn cherished, whether derived from Rousseau or the larger movements to which he belongs, a sentimental and egalitarian love of man or love of mankind seems to be the chief claim to moral worth of most of today's intellectuals, journalists, politicians, church leaders, and others. This type of sentiment has supplied the moral mandate for a mobilization and huge expansion of political government. Babbitt's critique of this morality of service as a flight from genuine moral responsibility and as a self-deluding mask for the will to power raises important questions about what may be the dominant form of moral sensibility in today's troubled society. The general theme of all Babbitt's writings, that the foundation and center of all genuinely civilized life is personal moral character and effort. This general theme contradicts the modern tendency of placing less and less demand on the individual and making moral and other goodness a matter of benevolent socio-political administration. In other words, if we just tinker enough with our political system, we can create a system so perfect that it won't matter whether men are good or evil. It'll still work and function fine. Babbitt's sense of priorities makes him adopt a view of moral and cultural leadership that is quite different from the one most common today. For example, he draws attention to the importance of personal example. The following words by a living writer, the Canadian novelist and playwright Robertson Davies, addressed to a group called the Ontario Welfare Council, could have been uttered by Babbitt. Quote, "You are working for mankind, are you? Well, the best thing you can do for mankind is to devote your best energies to making the best possible job of yourself. Then you will have something to give mankind that will really rouse its attention." This, of course, is the line that I love so much from Albert J. Nock, who always said that the best way to improve human society is to present it with one improved unit, yourself. For Americans, Babbitt represents a special challenge and opportunity. He is an American and a cosmopolitan in an inextricable union, an enormously learned scholar, and a cultural thinker who masters not only Bruce is in there trying to get into my snack drawer. I can hear the handle rattling. He is an enormously learned scholar and a cultural thinker who masters not only several modern languages, but classical and oriental languages. Babbitt ranges with authority across centuries and national boundaries, and even beyond Western culture. He is strikingly different from an increasingly common contemporary type, what may be called the provincial intellectual. The latter reflects the preoccupations of a particular region, religious denomination, or ethnic group, class, time period, or combination of these. In the provincial intellectual, these roots and origins do not, as they might, become the healthy basis for appreciating and learning from other historical periods and cultural contexts, and for acquiring a broad philosophical view. They shape a largely idiosyncratic outlook, though one possibly shared by many others of similar bias. Interpreting historical figures, events, and currents, the provincial intellectuals judge them according to the confining likes and dislikes of their own time and circle. Their prejudices are most evident when, as often happens, they present them not simply as their own preferences, but as the timeless universal truths or values. Provincial intellectuals see their own preferences as having been embraced also by various prestigious figures of the past. These renowned individuals might appear to have had very different beliefs, but their obvious moral and intellectual power could not possibly have kept them from arriving at the insights now in the possession of these favored provincial intellectuals. Thus, for example, Jesus of Nazareth is found to be an advocate of egalitarian social justice, or Plato turns out to be really just a Democrat in disguise, or the framers of the American Constitution become political majoritarians and champions of equal rights. The kind of biases of which provincial intellectuals are extreme examples are not completely transcended even by the truly great thinkers. But Babbitt's scholarship and thought is on a wholly different plane from that of the provincial intellectuals. His wide-ranging cosmopolitan mind offers correctives for the idiosyncrasies and confining prejudices of time and place. The universality of Babbitt's thought is at the same time indistinguishable from its American roots and accents. A severe critic of much in American life, Babbitt also identifies with the best in the traditions of his own country, including its Puritan past, seeking to revitalize, broaden, and deepen this heritage. In his books, one encounters an American personality, vigorous, forthright, humorous, tenacious, and morally earnest. Babbitt relates American tradition to Western life and culture in general. Babbitt relates American tradition to Western life and culture in general, not defensively or apologetically, but to assess the strengths and weaknesses of Western society as a whole. Pardon me. He does not study literature and culture of other countries and cultures to escape his own. He's not doing it to say that Buddhism is better than Christianity. He's not trying to say that the Eastern philosophies are superior to the Western philosophies. In fact, indeed, he is convinced that the Western civilization is the highest flourishing, the greatest ascendancy of cultural civilization. Seeking potentialities for reinvigorating an ailing civilization, Babbitt fully recognizes that the United States is an integral and increasingly influential part of Western society. His philosophy of will and effort as the ultimate basis of civilization has something perceptibly American about it, even as it transcends particular origins and forms a synthesis of a much larger ethical and religious heritage. The failure of America, I think Brutus managed to get the snack drawer open, and he loves to crawl in behind the drawer. The failure of American academia for so long to accord Irving Babbitt the attention and stature he deserves is, besides a symptom of the precarious state of civilization, a national misfortune. Except for the efforts of a small intellectual minority, the United States has been deprived of the wisdom, learning, and creativity of one of its own truly great figures. Not even among intellectual Americans claiming to seek a revitalization of traditional Western civilization is there much serious, advanced study of basic issues of culture. You should go to the New Criterion to really see what's the best thinking done on cultural issues facing Western civilization. In such fields as literary criticism, aesthetics, intellectual history, philosophy, and political theory, Intellectual narrowness, superficiality, and faddishness are common. Of the scholars who have been celebrated in the United States in recent decades, most are far from matching Babbitt in either originality, scope, or depth. A few have ideas that run parallel to or supplement his, but they lack or possess in undeveloped or rudimentary form certain Babbittian insights, which may be indispensable to dealing effectively with the central problems of the modern world. The old European intellectual traditions produced works of great depth and rigor, as epitomized by German philosophy. Thinkers of that background continue to enrich American intellectual life. But in America, academia today exaggerates importance, is sometimes attributed to European scholars writing in the manner of old Europe. Readers of limited scholarly self-confidence, in particular, tend to be impressed by dense and turgid writing and displays of esoteric learning. Babbitt's influence in his own country has probably been adversely affected by the fact that he wears his erudition lightly. His scholarship is marked by effortless command of sources, and it is presented in a vivid, readable, and often witty style. Babbitt's manner is that of a thinker secure in his own learning and insight. That real wisdom and other merit should go widely unacknowledged in a time of profound moral, intellectual, and cultural dislocations is not surprising. Is Babbitt's standing in the universities likely to improve, or have the humanities and social sciences drifted so far from the center of reality that they lack not just the inclination, but the ability to absorb Babbitt's ideas? Who knows? At present, his work is attracting considerable new interest, of which this edition of Rousseau and Romanticism is but one of many examples. Appearances to the contrary, a genuine recovery of American and European civilization may not be outside the realm of the possible. It can be predicted with confidence that should such a recovery take place, Babbitt's work will play a central role and enjoy a belated recognition. For more on Irving Babbitt, boy oh boy, you've got to go to theimaginativeconservative.com and check out what my friend Winston Elliott is doing with an incredible team of writers. If you are a political man of action rather than a political man of thought, I cannot recommend more highly to you to pick up this slim volume, Democracy and Leadership. I love the opening line by Russell Kirk in this one. He says that the first thing to note about this book is that it constitutes one of those rare applications of a general intelligence to the sphere of politics. So this is what actually Herbert Reed, an anarchist, wrote of Babbitt's Democracy and Leadership, published in 1924. If you don't have time to read all of the great books of the conservative heritage, boy, do yourself a favor and pick up Democracy and Leadership by Irving Babbitt. It's been a real pleasure telling you about one of my favorite authors, and I'll look forward to telling you more in the next one. Good night.